Can I give you some MPs that I suggest that you would take down?
Well, you know, if you look hard enough, I'm sure that there is something that we're trying to hide.
Yeah, I have some MPs.
That man plotting to take down democratically elected UK MPs has been working at the Israeli embassy in London, and his dirty tricks revelations come as tomorrow the IDF soldier found guilty of manslaughter of a wounded Palestinian is to be sentenced. Joining me live from Washington is author of The General Sun Journey of an Israeli in Palestine, Miko Peled, to discuss why Israeli PM Netanyahu wants to pardon the soldier, but Theresa May didn't deport the embassy employee. Miko, thanks so much for coming back on the show. Before we get to Israeli diplomats, though the Israeli embassy in London has denied to us that he was a diplomat, taking down UK politicians, why should anyone really care about this sentencing tomorrow for manslaughter? If more than 6 million have been displaced by Israel, let alone hundreds of thousands killed. Why is it so important at all?
Yes, well, you know, he's, in a way, the soldier didn't do anything that other soldiers don't do. He just did it in front of a camera, you know. So the problem is that he was exposed by somebody taking, you know, with a video camera. But really, he did nothing that Israeli soldiers don't do all the time. And public sentiment in Israel is such that killing a Palestinian is never a bad thing. It's never wrong. There's no reason to punish him. And it's an intervention of the political branch into the judicial branch, into the judiciary, in a way that is so unbelievable. But that's how Israel runs things. You know, when it comes to the military is always above the law.
About that alleged intrusion, Netanyahu is like a brother to your sister, as you say in your book. What did you think of making him say that Sergeant Azaria, who killed Abed al-Sharif, should be pardoned?
Well, he knows that this is the popular sentiment, and he is expressing the popular sentiment. He wants people to like him. He's in a lot of trouble right now. He's got to do whatever it takes to maintain his popularity, and this is golden for him. It's a question of being a populist. It has nothing to do with justice.
Natural for the Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, to say his government is now going to withhold $40 million owed to the United Nations after the Security Council just before Christmas voted to condemn illegal settlements.
Yes, well, I think Israel's panic over the vote in the Security Council is typical of how Israel behaves. I mean, for the first time the U.S. allowed this vote to take place and then did not veto it. So Israel is panicking, and they're pulling all the stops, and they're making threats. And in the end, all that happened was that the world told Israel once again that violating international law, stealing Palestinian land, committing genocide and ethnic cleansing is not acceptable.
Is it even Israel's money? Congressional Research Service in Washington says $10.2 million a day are coming from the U.S. taxpayer to fund Israel. And so saving $40 million for the Israeli economy is just taking the U.S. taxpayer money, maybe.
Of course, they get over. It's going to be now more. It's going to be almost $15 million a day now with the new aid package. And of course, Israel as a rich country doesn't need aid, so why it's getting aid is a whole other question. And then when somebody dares to criticize Israel for things that it does wrong, which, you know, there's plenty of those, then they start panicking and calling ambassadors and threatening the world and so forth. And it's a little bit, it's ridiculous. It's a little bit like, you know, the tail wagging the dog.
And some of that money pays for embassies abroad. You mentioned secret camera footage of the murder of Abed al-Sharif. What did you make of this Shai Massot, previously a senior political advisor, then a diplomat, and now, as we heard, the Israeli embassy here in London saying he was not a diplomat, at the Israeli embassy in London planning to take down a minister right now at the British Foreign Office, Alan Duncan?
You know, I think it's very interesting. I think he's probably language that he hears all the time, and he just didn't realize you're not supposed to use this language when you're talking to people, you know, on the outside. But Israel uses mafia-like tactics and blackmail to get politicians around the world, particularly in America, to vote its way and support its policies. And he probably didn't think he was saying anything out of the ordinary, because this is how Israel talks.
The Israeli embassy also said it was unacceptable language. But why do you think the UK Prime Minister Theresa May didn't immediately seek to deport this man instead of waiting for the Israelis to take action?
You know, that's a very good question. Why are so many British politicians in the pocket of the Israeli government is a very good question. But you know, it's interesting. This young man at the embassy in London and the young soldier who shot the Palestinian on the ground, both of them, I think, didn't think they were doing anything wrong. The only problem is they were caught on camera. What they do seem, I'm sure to them, seemed perfectly normal, and they see it being done all the time. And they see people behaving and speaking in this way all the time because Israel is a rogue state. This is how Israel conducts business and politics and diplomacy all the time.
Shai Massot, this man caught on camera, also said in the secret camera footage, Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of Britain's opposition, is crazy, and that he'd set up something called the City Friends of Israel in London, together with AIPAC over where you're speaking to me from, to undermine Jeremy Corbyn with a £1 million plot. I mean, are these things seriously going on? Maybe he was just some guy shooting his mouth off. Is that how sinister it is?
I think we know that Israel is terrified of Jeremy Corbyn becoming prime minister. They've done, what was it, just several months ago, there was this whole anti-Semitism craze going on in Labour, accusing all kinds of people who are not anti-Semitic with anti-Semitism because they were opposed to Israeli policies, and they voiced their opposition. And I'm sure he was not just mouthing off. I think he's saying things that he's been hearing all the time. He just didn't realize you're not supposed to say it to people on the outside, and he was caught.
Where you're speaking to me from, Donald Trump said before the election that he would move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The Palestinian ambassador to Britain said on this program he didn't think it would happen. What's your feeling for this?
Well, the difference between Donald Trump and other presidents is that you don't know what he's going to do, and he's really quite capable of doing this. I think for the first time, there's a real chance of this happening. People don't appreciate, I think, two things. First of all, the fact that Donald Trump is a bit mad, and we don't know what he's going to do, and he may do crazy things. And the other thing, just how serious this is. There are no embassies in Jerusalem. All of the foreign embassies are in Tel Aviv because the world did not recognize the Israeli conquest of Jerusalem back in 1948. We're not talking about something that happened in '67. We're talking about the initial war in 1948 where Israel was established. The boundaries that the United Nations recognized for the Jewish state in Palestine did not include Jerusalem. Israel illegally occupied Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, until 1967, and then East Jerusalem in 1967. The world does not recognize it. There are no embassies there. Jerusalem was supposed to be an independent entity, an internationally recognized independent entity. Recognizing Israel's occupation of Jerusalem is an incredibly serious thing. And one would hope that somebody will advise Donald Trump and tell him that he should stay away from this.
And just finally, on that Israeli ambassador to Britain, Mark Regev, what should the British people expect from him? Obviously, it's embarrassing that one of his employees here in London has been caught trying to take down, as he says, British politicians. Do you think Britons should feel okay about him being the ambassador here in London?
No, I don't think they should feel okay about any Israeli being ambassador. I think the Israeli ambassador should have been sent home a long time ago. Prime Minister Netanyahu and his entire diplomatic team have been suffering many serious blunders recently. You know, the vote in the UN Security Council is one, the American abstention is another, now another. Someone said once, you know, to be the Israeli ambassador anywhere in the world today is a terrible job. But I think, seriously, if we look at Israel's violations of international law, and now if we look at this very serious infringement that took place from an employee within the Israeli embassy in London, the ambassador should be sent home.
Miko Peled, thank you. And that's it for today.